28th. City of Solon special meeting. With that, we'll do roll call. Barlinger. Here. Gordon. Kramer. Here. Mackey. Here. Morris. Here. All right, looking to perfect and improve the agenda. Any known changes to the agenda tonight, Cam?
No change.
With that, do we have a motion to perfect and improve the agenda?
Second.
Motion by Gordon, second by Morris. Barlinger.
Yes.
Gordon. Kramer.
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
All right, takes us into our work session, the fiscal 27 budget. I'll hand it over to Cam.
All right, thank you very much. Just on time here, because those pictures come across great. Finally. Oh, well, good.
Working.
Okay. All righty. Thank you. Wanted to just be able to try to share and then also be available if anybody pops on here. I was hoping to start this evening, kind of with a recap of where we left off at the last meeting. And, see if this is gonna share. I think you might have had this in your last packet. We're gonna kind of just start with, we're gonna head into expenditures because that's really where the heart and soul of, you know, how you spend money is what the budget's all about. But we've got it, we can't kind of move on to that without really taking another look at the revenues and the debt, so that everybody has a good understanding of how that all kind of works together. I know Heidi was here at the last meeting and it was a shock. It's a shock to all of us who have been dealing with this for a few years. There's just no way around the fact that it's gonna be a costly project, the wastewater treatment plant. And what the approach we've been taking is, let's see what position we're in for this year. And she has the target numbers we have to reach over the course of the bond. And that's what she's calculating back. Like, for us to hit those target numbers, this is what we need to do today to be able to reach those target numbers. Now, what's going to impact those is how many more houses we get on, that is going to help spread the cost around. How much money can we continue to put into reserves and build interest? So there's factors we can control here, but what she presented was, we have to hit target numbers by the time this bond is due. And what she's recommended is going to allow the city to do that. I just wanted to kind of recap that conversation. What is built into this budget is a 2% increase in water and sewer. It's already in there. It's already in these numbers. It's in the revenue. And what is in the revenue right now is what's in here right now is our current numbers that we're getting in sewer debt and user fees. So we need to talk about what those new numbers are going to look like, because they're not in here.
One thing with that, we have over the last 6 years, probably longer, and Cam, you can speak to this. We've raised water and sewer by 2% every year.
Yeah.
I don't know how far that goes back, but at least the last 6 years, we've done that already with it, just to try to keep up.
That was gonna be one of my questions, was knowing this is coming, is this gonna be a hammer drop, or have this been? Could it have been more in the past years to help out a little more, or?
So one thing that I've appreciated here is that we've done 2% every year. Served on a council in previous city. And we didn't do anything with water sewer rates until the last year of my term. So it was 3 years of nothing, then a 5 or 8% jump. And so what I appreciate about here is it's steady, it's a 2% each year, so we don't have that huge raise. This is a different situation where we've done that 2% raise. We didn't have a $35 million wastewater project at previous city I was with. And so this is something where it's the 2% has helped keep up with just the cost of doing business. This is on top of that with a huge project for us. So the 2% that's in there, that's something that is maintained. That's not a new. So it's not what we're looking at is 2% and that as is all at a sticker shock. The 2% has been steady for several years. Just wanted to make sure that was accurate, Cam, with the 2% where that's consistent. That's not a
Yeah.
kind of a new decision.
And to better explain this, I think it'd be a good time to pull out the movie, because this is really a different look at the information Heidi presented at the last meeting. She presents her information in one way that makes sense to her, and I process it in another way that makes sense to me. And so if you look at the highlighted yellow, and these kind of line up, just put the one underneath the other. That's all the payments that we have to make in FY 27. But if you look at the very first debt, these are all of our bonds and payments. So the very first bond on there is a sewer repair and North Sewer 2003. That was the last update to the sewer plant. How many years ago? I mean, in 2003 is when we updated the sewer plant, and it's lived its life. We've paid it off. But what we did to help pay that bond is we implemented a $5 sewer debt fee. So when that debt was paid off, rather than take that debt fee off the water bills, we instead verified that we can continue to charge it, and we found out we could. And now that $5 we've been collecting since 2023, when that bond ended, we have continued to set that aside. So there's a reserve. Go back to that reserve account that's going to say sewer debt fees. So we've been continuing to collect that because we knew then we were going to have this project. So that's an example, Tim, of one of the ways we've been trying to continue to build, in addition to just moving our payments around and trying to keep as much as that local option sales tax on hand as possible and getting it in CDs and earning interest. So that's an example. And
I guess my question is, when was the sewer treatment facility first brought up as we need to move forward with something?
that's a good question.
It's been a few years. I mean, I feel like I've heard about it for a while and it's coming.
Yeah, we started in June of 2024 with some public outreach. Like if you go on the website, you'll see that we did some articles in the newspaper just to plant the seed that, hey, this is coming.
So very recent though.
It's
Not
been-
like a 5-year, hey, if we keep growing at this rate, we're gonna have to do something.
Our sewer plant was built in what, 1950?
50, yeah.
So
19
19 odd. So it's
Well, I understand it's
We've been
up to 5.
lucky.
Yeah, I think to get where Tim's going at, when John and I first got on council 6 years ago, this was not something we were talking about because it wasn't, our population has shot up quite a bit over the last few years, and DNR standards have also changed during that time.
Dave, you might be able to better answer that. I mean, I can't.
Well, it all started with the sewer plant with some of the stuff the DNR has thrown at us, the new regulations. We would have to upgrade the sewer plant, the existing sewer plant that we have. Through conversations, it was decided that we really don't have any space down there, we're landlocked. We have a ridge of rock on the north side and a creek in the flood zone on the south side, so. That's where it all kind of started, is okay, we can't do anything here that's gonna long term. So And we started looking into land, and so that was probably right around the time you guys came on, I mean, Scott and Dave Schlesinger have been having this conversation probably for 7 to 8 years, probably. Not about the new one, but about what we're gonna do with the new regulations. It's been, so right now, the plant that we have now, we can't, without a major upgrade, will we, in 2028, I think, we won't be able to meet our obligations to the DNR. So instead of going out of compliance, they know we're building a new plant, so they're gonna grant us some time to get the new plant online. So that the amount of chlorine we can let get back into the environment is gonna become a lot less. That's why we're going with UV and getting rid of chlorine gas altogether down there. Just some of the things that, and a lot of the nutrients that plant was never designed, because back in the 50s, there was no worry. We could put as much nutrient in the Mississippi River as we wanted, because dilution was the solution. Nowadays, that's not the case. We're killing the Gulf of Mexico, so.
But is that something we should invest in a marketing program to tell the public why this is so much better than it was? To show them
It
like, hey,
wouldn't
this is what
hurt.
you're
I mean,
paying.
we've had some public meetings to try to explain that.
I think we've had public meetings, and Kim, you did a 3-part series with the paper, wasn't it?
On the city's webpage, it's right there on the very first thing is, just the wastewater treatment plant update. And we started with the articles in 2024, and those are on there. And then 6 months later, we did a video. We came in and had the drone and did the whole video to show people, this is what our current plan looks like. This is where it's going. Just again, that education piece. And then, 6 months later, we did two. We did an in-person Zoom. We did an in-person meeting and then a Zoom meeting for people to come. And at that time, the engineer had identified 6 options and went through all of those options. And that's on the website today. So yeah, we're definitely open to suggestions as far as how we continue to get the word out and educate people. I think one of our challenges is we have to be responsible also, and not install panic. I mean, it is what it is, but we also have to know that there's a responsibility in just trying to manage the project, manage the potential impact of the project, but being fiscally responsible today as possible. And you're not gonna be the first council to deal with this, and you're not gonna be the last council to have to deal with these hard decisions. And it is, it's a tough one. I agree. It's a tough situation. So I'd first encourage you to go look at that information on the website and see what's missing. What could we do better? Because I think we're totally open to ideas.
And we talked about it. We talked about, having the public come down and do a tour, but that was kind of decided against, because they might see something, take some pictures of something that is irrelevant, and
Yeah,
and
right.
next thing you know, that's
And not
on
understand,
Facebook.
right?
And some of the water issues that you guys have been listening to the last little bit, I mean, that's some of the problem, but that's kind of way from out portion from the one part of this Facebook crowd.
I guess, I mean, break it down into layman's terms, but with the most, wow, look how we're doing this now, kind of thing, that's.
Correct. And then,
Get people excited about it, is that angle?
I don't know. they-
So,
We say like, we're doing so much more for the environment this
Oh,
way
I see.
by upgrading to this brand new state-of-the-art facility, but when you break it down into like the UV thing and everything like that, like, it's gotta be something anybody can understand.
Correct.
Yeah.
We're, since we discharge in to Lake McBride, which is a state park, we're grandfathered in. There's only 2 or 3 places in the entire state that are allowed to discharge into a state park. And we are, because we were here before the state park. But we're held to a way higher standard. If we have a spill at the state park, not only the DNR itself and the EPA can come after us, but the state park can have their own on top of all that. So we're held to a way higher standard. We hold ourselves to a higher standard than that. You know, we fish in that, my family fishes, we kayak, we swim.
But that's what I'm saying, though, like coming in, I had no idea that was the case. But that needs to be advertised as the case. Because
Yeah, we're
that's
trying to
that's
be
what we're trying to
as
do.
thoughtful as we can
Yeah,
with the water.
we don't need three-eyed fish coming out of Lake McBride. Yeah.
It's gonna be blamed on us. You know, every time that there's an E. coli or something, they close the beach, you know, we're the first one they look at, but it's never us, it's always the geese and all that down
Right.
there, that's just a natural thing that's why there's such a push to try to
Or
find a way to
algae
get
bloom
the
or
geese
something.
off there, yeah. The water we put into the creek is cleaner than the creek. And the water of the new sewer plant we'll put in is even gonna be cleaner than the water we can produce now. Cause we're gonna be able to take out the phosphorus and a lot more nitrogen. Some of the stuff that this plant was never designed to do.
Okay.
Just is gonna hurt.
I understand, but to ease the pain, I guess is what,
People like that, and understand.
to numb it a little bit
Right.
would be to explain where and why, more than anything, because 90% of people are just gonna see it as a boom, here's my bill, and wow, I can't believe they're doing
Right.
this.
And when we first built that first video that we made, there was some talk of making another. Once we got a
Yeah.
design and everything and knew more about the plant, we do another video to put on the website to kind of explain, but to kind of explain what the new plant's gonna be capable of, why we have to be capable of doing these things, what it's gonna do for, you know, our local environment.
And in all reality, our sewer plant isn't gonna last another 25 years or 10 years, right? I mean, if we don't have,
Well, we won't be able to meet.
we don't have a sewer plant,
The permit,
we have to have a sewer plant. There's no,
yeah,
there's
no,
no
there's no
ifs,
way
ands,
around
or
not
buts.
having a sewer plant.
We have to have a sewer plant. And the sewer plant that we have now is not gonna meet regulations. And we don't have a choice but to have a sewer plant. And this is where we're at. We can sugarcoat it all we want, but at the end of the day, you have to have a sewer plant.
It's not sure, or what happens to the old when we start them now?
Half of it is gonna be used for equalization. So in a high water event where we have a lot of flooding and in Solon, we have, just in a basic example. Today we ran 400,000 gallons of water through the sewer plant. When it rains, we'll go over 1 million. Just from the groundwater coming in, so a lot of that will be diverted to the old plant. and
So it'll still function.
just for equalization.
Yes.
There will not be a treatment facility at all. There'll be no treatment down, just equalization.
Will that take a burden off the new one then?
Yeah, so we won't have the huge slam of water. The reason why we have that is, one, the manhole we talked about. You know, you saw the water coming in there. Just imagine when it rains, that's coming in every crack.
Right.
So that'll help ease that burden. And not only will it help ease that burden, but it's gonna help ease that burden for 50 years down the road.
Right.
Until we can come up with solutions to work within the manholes to fix those or the other,
Right, yeah.
the other,
we
the
have-
other sewer lines that we can tow
Yeah.
over time that we
Yeah.
can help to start to seal those, which there's also solutions to do that once we get the ability to do that as well, right?
Yeah,
This is probably going further down the rabbit hole, what we did a few years ago. We smoked our lines to see where we had ionized, infiltration and
Inflow and infiltration.
inflow and infiltration. Ionized way easier. But we did that around town, so you can see smoke coming out of places, and that's just where we have the leaks and stuff like that, so. We can continue to spend some money, that also helps instead of the 400,000, or, eliminating the gap from 1 million gallons, the 400,000.
Tracks on that. But I have a paperwork from the sixties down at the plant that when we first started the I&I projects, the first kind of round and assessments. And it's just gradually, every little bit we do helps for a little while, but then it finds a new way and, the water finds a new crack. So we're just staying steady. We're not with those, our, every few years we line some more, fix a few more manholes. We're just staying steady, and then until all the old infrastructure is refurbished, we're gonna have that problem.
Right.
And that's every single line. From our lines, we can do all we want with our lines, but then you still have all the laterals that go to the houses that are all old clay tile. And until that's all fixed, which isn't our expense, that'd be a homeowner's problem, but you're just gonna have that. Just, now we use way better building codes, way better materials, so the new parts of town, we're not having these problems.
Right.
I agree with you, Tim. It's, trying to educate and build a campaign around this has been something we've talked about a lot. The finance committee, who's been meeting regularly with Heidi the last few years, we've talked about, coming up with some kind of a public campaign. So, I might recommend that the finance committee look at what we've done so far on the website and, figure out what's that next step, because we've been trying every 6 months to come out with something. And, what is that next PR piece that we need to be thinking about and working on? That sound okay?
Go in for it, as long as it's focused on there, play the lake, because if we're pumping into the lake, that's what you want people to know.
Yeah, that we're trying to be the best stewards of the water that we possibly.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And this is an outdoor community, so I think that'll go a long way. So
Yeah, big time.
play that card.
So while we got this out, so the yellow line is every payment that we have planned for FY 27. But as you go down this list, the first bond is the sewer repair. That last payment was made in 2023. The next one down was the Main Streetscape and Highway 1 refunding bond. That was from when we did Main Street in 2012. That last payment was in 2024. And then as you go down, you can see how those have dropped off. And there's others that continue on past 2027. So currently we have the ground storage reservoir, which is the round tank down at the SRNA. It's just basically a water tower that sits on the ground. So we have that payment, and we have the North Trunk sewer payment. That one's a little unique because that is a new sewer line that was necessary to pump sewage from Fox Ridge, Prairie Acres, Windmill Estates over to the sewer plant. 44% of that sewer line is not in the city limits, so we can't use TIF dollars on something that's not in the city limits. So part of that bond is paid with TIF and part of it's paid with local option sales tax. So that one's a little unique. Then the next one's the fire station, and that one was set up where the new firehouse, and that one was set up where the agency would pay for 1/3 of the payment and the city would pay for 2/3 of the payment. So what you see there is you see the city principal and interest, the agency principal and interest, and then below that is the combined. So we're up to 3 bonds. So we have the ground storage tank, the North Trunk sewer, the fire station, and then the last one's the East 5th Street bond. And that's when the city did that stretch from Highway 1 down to the new Saddleback Estates. So those are our 4 bonds. Those are considered general obligation bonds, or GO bonds for short. And those do go against that 21 million debt that Heidi talked about because they're general obligation bonds. It doesn't matter how we pay them, whether we're using lost or TIF or debt obligation, they're considered a GO bond. So that does go against our total, our debt capacity. So we're gonna have $900,000 in bond payments in 2027. And then if you keep on going, down, then I also track like, the North Street project, we, had some expenses with these vacant lots over there, and we requested TIF money. So that's listed there. And then also, if you keep going down, you're gonna see curb and gutter. We spent 57,000 in curb and gutter. We're gonna get reimbursed for that with TIF on that year. This is just, helps me track what's coming in and out for the city. But note on that curb and gutter, past 2027, it goes up to 230,000. And that's because Streets Committee has been wanting to amp up that curb and gutter project. We focus on what's called the original part of Solon from, 6th Street. And then of course, then 5th Street over, and we're just at Main Street. So since 2007, we've spent $1.6 million to curb and gutter from basically 6th Street, which is, it doesn't go all the way through, but 5th Street to Main Street. And we do that by, doing the work and then submitting, requests for TIF to be reimbursed for that money. So that just gives you an idea. So basically, 120,000 would get us about 3 linear blocks. And it's just going slow. And so the Streets Committee said, as we have some of our bonds drop off and before the new payments come for the new sewer plant, can we ramp up our curb and gutter? So that's why that number's up to 230 going forward. That is arbitrary. That is gonna have to be negotiated each year, because if we get to a point that we can't do a full 230 and we have to allocate more money to something else, then it will be done. Those are your decisions. But for planning purposes, that 230 is in there for curb and gutter. Wanted to point out that the section that's light blue, those are revenue payments. And we track those differently from GO bonds because they don't go against our debt the same way. And that's what Heidi's talking about. This is gonna potentially be a revenue bond, which means the revenues that we get from water sewer payments or paying the bond may not necessarily go against our GO. It won't go against our GO. Let's say we have 6 million in cash and we do revenue bond for 30 million. That doesn't go against our debt capacity because we're using all revenue bonds. But maybe we have to do 20 million in revenue and 10 million in GO and 6 million in cash. That's all going to be decided when it gets closer. But just keep that in mind that if it's a revenue bond, it doesn't go against our debt capacity like a general obligation bond. Then the other thing I wanted to share is there's a sheet called Capital Improvement Evaluation List. You know, how does a project go from being an idea to getting to an actual bonded project? And this is last year's capital improvement list. And what we usually do is in February, after we get through the bulk of the budget, then the council works on updating this list. And every department looks at their priorities. We get them on the list, and then the council collectively decides what's at the top of the list. What are we going to focus on? What are we going to be spending city dollars on? Now, again, this is last year's list. So this is what council and staff came up with last year. You're going to have a new shot at this list because obviously, which one are you laughing at?
No, the turn lane on Highway 1 seems to be big. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. And that actually the city has purchased property to allow for that turn lane on Highway 1 coming.
Where?
So it's right there next to, between El Sol and the new building. So if you're coming this ways,
The salon,
and Craft Salon,
before that building was built, we purchased, I forget how many feet.
yeah.
To allow for that.
Really?
So there
I
could be
didn't
a
think that'd be even a feasible thing.
No, so we can go a little bit.
turn
by
lane both
BP.
ways.
We can
But
go,
we can't do it until we jump through all the DOT hoops. So we've gone through,
So we don't have the warrants yet, so they do all these traffic studies, and there has to be so many cars at peak times of the day before they'll approve us having a turn lane, so it's one of the things that we monitor annually. And so that when we do meet the requirements, then can kind of move the project forward.
between Mushroom Park. I think a little bit by BP, I thought we went a little bit to the east, not a ton. But then we purchased the right of way by the salon, where we purchased more space, so there is room for turn lanes going east and west. Off Highway 1.
No, north and south.
North, yeah, north and south, you'd be turning east.
So, yeah, we've been doing the work. The city bought the property. When that came for development, basically it said, if we let you build here, there's no way to ever put a turn lane in. So the city negotiated property, and now we're just waiting for the traffic patterns. So it's no different than the street lights that went up. We asked for a street light, the DOT said no until we met the requirements. And then eventually we were able to get the street lights. So that comes with having a state highway. They don't let you control things, they do. So that's the frustrating part.
But we are set up to do that.
we haven't built it.
Yes, once we get the okay, then we can until.
Congratulations, previous council.
It can't be.
So I'm hoping just to kind of help you give the full circle, how does a project become a project? Who decides it's a project? Who decides it's on the list? You do. You decide that, the councils that sat in your chairs before decided that, and then once you decide that, then that's our job, is to figure out how to make it happen. So, and then, is there any questions on the debt, on the, we will go through and update this capital improvement list after we get done with budget. Just wanted to help you understand how a project becomes a project. Who picks, how's it rise to the top, and things like that. Let's see, so Amy got you new expenditure and revenue reports. The ones that you had, there was just a few changes, and I just thought it would be easier if we just had new reports and a new recap sheet. We wanted to highlight a couple pages on that report that we're gonna focus on as far as revenue, and we're gonna move on to the expenditures. So how these reports work, the first column is what we actually spent last year. The second column is what's budgeted this year. With the report that says revenues 128 on the front. The next column is our amended budget, but we don't amend the budget till April and May, so it's the same as the budget. And then the next column is what we've spent to date as of the date of this report. And then the requested column is the column we're focused on. What's the number that we're gonna be putting in the 2027 budget? Few things changed on this report since the last time. One is under all other revenue receipts. It's 47990. I added, 6,200 to that. Because the bill the quote we got from Krafka for the field maintenance down there, school committee is meeting with the school tomorrow, and I anticipate they're going to ask the school to pay for half of that, so I'm assuming we're going to get half of that reimbursed. Half of that 12,280 reimbursed, so I added that to that. And then on page 5, I did work with Heidi. I mentioned under local option sales tax, we were still kind of working to come up with a number for there because there's a lot of unknowns now that Iowa City, Coralville, and North Liberty have passed local option sales tax. We agreed that 785,000 was a conservative number, so that's the number that was inserted there.
One thing, can you just jump in with that? So we've always tried from our revenues, we've tried to be very conservative with our projections. Do you think that we're like just to plan on bringing in less money? Same thing with expenses. We've tried to be conservative and expect expenses to be higher with where they're at with that. So we try to build some cushion instead of just being very aggressive with, oh, we're gonna bring in a ton of money and we're gonna spend as much as we can. We try to be conservative on both ends to give us some cushion for kind of a rainy day or unexpected expenses that come up.
Then on page 8, at the bottom of page 8, under sewer utilities, you're gonna see that sewer debt fee. I have 175,000 in there right now because we brought in 161. Now that's that $5 fee, and that's gonna adjust. Or if, no, I'm sorry, is it 5, is it $10 or $15 now? It's $15 now. That started at $5, but we increased it up to, this current year is the first year we're at 15. And she's proposing that go to. It's not that one. That was the stuff she gave us last meeting. So anyway, that's why I need a number to put in there. So I know it's a difficult decision and we don't have, your decision isn't final until May when we have to do the ordinance update, but, thank you. She is proposing, that going from $15 to $26 if you go with the change from 0 to 1,000 gallon base as she suggested. We can leave the number in there, but just know that you know, that number is a placeholder and that's what's going to get filed with the state because we have to submit a budget, a balanced budget. But that number is going to change depending on what you decide. Also, on the last one on that page is the debt service fee. Or the debt usage fee. And that's currently $5 and she's recommending that goes up to $11.50. So again, the number in there is a placeholder for revenues. And then I also want to point out that both of those are dollars that when you look at our sewer over and under, we have to put that money aside. So it's not up for, you know, when we look at our revenues and minus expenditures, we have to make sure those numbers are set aside. They're not part of our operating budget. So when we look at the recap, you know, just the simple expenditures minus the revenues, we have to make sure that whatever numbers in there we're setting aside because it's not available for day-to-day operations. So the bulk of this report is set up in the revenues that come into general fund. It always starts with general fund. And We have a lot of things that just come in as either their taxes, their fees that come in. And then we do get money from the county for the library, and the recreation department also charges fees, so they have a department. And then the garbage. So there's really not a lot that comes in under revenues. That's really department specifics. It's all just kind of lump sums that come in. So we're expected to bring in $3.1 million in general fund in revenues. When we get to look at when we go back and look at the budget certification, I'll tie those numbers back to this report, but right now I'd just like to keep moving if you don't mind. So we can get to the expenditures. Was there any questions about the revenue report? I know you haven't had a chance to look at it. I mean, any quick questions about it?
Does that explanation help? And then explain what we're talking about at the council meeting last, as far as we know it's a week to come up with the numbers on it, but it's why the importance that what we set, how that impacts and the budget and the plan.
Just one note, so just as I'm on the committee, but the community protection, the court fines, parking violation fees, and community protection in general, that is everything the sheriff's office is doing.
Can you tell me what number that is?
So that'd be 1110. It's first page, 3/4 of the way down, community protection.
The $50? Is that
Yeah,
one?
20 last year. I see the.
No,
under the 50.
we have our own parking tickets and they're $10 each. So
Okay.
if the sheriff's office issues a city parking
Mhm.
ticket, then they're $10.
So they issue our municipal infractions for us, right? Part of the covered service.
No, we do our own municipal infractions. That line is just for those tickets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's just the parking tickets that they may write under our ordinance. That we
Yes.
can kick back for. I'm understanding now.
Yeah.
This is because I just don't know. Do we have a comprehensive like ordinance code that would list things like speeding or running a stop sign under municipal ordinance? And is the sheriff's office allowed to enforce it? There are enforcement agency with that? Okay, so the $20 prior to last year, the $50 on the amended budget this year that's all we got the prior year, right? $20 back
Yes.
on those tickets.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good question. So we buy the tickets and we have them printed and then they take the books. Yeah, it's maybe parking over a sidewalk, or left wheel curb. Typically, it's a parking.
And I know I'm way up on here, but I'm just trying to, as I was looking at the numbers that Susie sent me for the number of like traffic enforcement things, right? And the amount of citations they're issuing for that. If we have a municipal ordinance and they're doing it inside the city limits, it benefits the city if they write the municipal ordinance over the state law. Because then the county surcharge, court fines and fees doesn't go back to the county. It comes back to the city. So I was trying to just kind of figure out why we paid them $135,000 and we only got $20 back in municipal ordinance violations. That's my logic behind that, so.
Yeah, and that's a good question, I think, and I'm glad you're on the police committee, because those are questions I wouldn't know to ask. But I think it's a good question because, what is the difference between a speeding ticket versus a parking ticket? In their eyes, they're gonna issue a city ticket for the parking, but they're gonna do for the speeding or other things, they're gonna do one of the state violations, yes.
So if it takes place on Highway 1, that's a state maintained highway, they have to write under state code. But if it happens on Fifth Street and they run a stop sign, if we have a I don't know what it is, I have to look at our municipal code, but if it's $25 in a civil infraction, they can write that, at least a portion of that. Now Kevin might not like that because he would typically, I don't know how that would be argued out in court if it's the city. I think it's the city attorney then that has to go to court if somebody contests it. But Point is, I think, and I know law enforcement is not a moneymaker on balance sheets, right? They cost, if you had your own police department, they cost more than they bring in, but I would expect more than $20 is my whole point to this, so we can move on, so.
Sure. And I can tell you, that was one of the ordinances that they worked on. So we're just getting ready to update the codification. Kevin will be able to answer that better than I.
Yep.
I can. So let's move on and, we're gonna, jump to our expenditures. First I got a quick recap here before we dive deep into that. So in this budget, we work with Ellison Insurance to determine what our potential property tax insurance increase is gonna be, and they have let me know to budget 6% increase over our current year. And for health insurance, 12% was the recommended increase. So those are reflected. So basically I take our amounts from last year that we paid, and I increase them by the percentage that's anticipated. Also, we look at the consumer price index. The finance committee meets in December, the personnel committee meets in December to determine the COLA, the cost of living for city employees. And they look at the consumer price index and the Midwest consumer price index. And we have historically tracked that, and their recommendation after reviewing that was 3% cost of living. So that 3% cost of living is also reflected in this budget for city wages. In addition to city wages, the employee handbook allows a 2% merit increase. So we'd be looking at a 3% cost of living and a 2% merit increase. IFRS is unchanged. We're a regular class here, so the employee pays 2.9% and the employer pays 9.44%. So no change in that for FY27. And then the League of Cities is good about providing some framework about national employee cost index, and their research from June of last year shows for state and local government workers, there's been an overall 4% increase in total compensation costs, 3.9% of wages and 4.1% in benefits. And that's a national gauge. It's really just to give you an idea of the cost of being an employer. What those percentage increases are. This is our current general fund budget right now. And 25% is the largest, and general government is both share 25% of our general fund budget, and those are the biggest pieces of the pie. General government is not typically that high. However, we've done some property purchases and we pay for them out of general government. So it's kind of elevated. You'll see public safety is 10% part of the general fund, library services 15%, parks 8%, recreation 9%, and garbage and recycling 8%. So that gives you an idea of right now this year how we're budgeted, where the dollars are going to go.
I'm gonna say typically with that, so just like with the 5-year contract that we have with the sheriff's department, typically it's around 22%. I was trying to think what we had figured, if we were to have our own force, what it would cost of our budget. So it's what we pay with Johnson County. That is, it's a good deal for us. It would be significantly more expensive if we were to have our own department. But I just wanted to call that out as one item too, where it's just 10%.
So this is intended to just give you an at a glance because, the numbers are, you look at a lot of numbers and it's hard to be able to, see it, I'm a picture person. So this gives me an idea of, where the dollars are going. And the general fund budget's the largest part of the budget. which is obviously where all those property tax dollars are coming from, because the majority of the city's operated by the general fund. So, and then this is this is 2027, so the budget that I'm presenting to you tonight, this is how it breaks out: 31% public works, 19% general government, a little bit of switch there. Again, we had some property purchases that elevated it for this current year. Including all the stuff going on with the new city hall. Library services went down 1%, parks went up 1%, parks recreation stayed at 9%, garbage stayed at 8%, so, and public safety stayed at 10%, so very similar. One of the reasons public works went up is we jumped that curb and gutter from 120 to 230,000. So that's reflected in here. You know, when you make a big jump like that in one line item, it's gonna show up pretty quickly. Okay, so. I know we got more talk that we need to do about equipment, but I first wanted to, one more brief presentation. We'll jump into all the other expenditures. One of the many hats that I wear, as city administrator is I'm also, the vice president of the Solon Economic Development Group. And, so they go by SEDGE for short. It's basically like a chamber of commerce. That's the name that was decided years ago. And, so the Economic Development Group has been, you know, really trying to work hard to get reestablished after COVID. Basically, it was difficult for all the businesses to, you know, just basically survive COVID, and then coming out of that has kind of been where we've been focused to try to, you know, build that strong business alliance in Solon. That it was alive and thriving prior to COVID, but then afterwards it's been, you know, a challenge to kind of regroup. So the activities that SEDGE has historically been a part of is business PM events, the annual Christmas tree walk, help with Shop the Walk promotion, and then just other things that arise throughout the year or opportunities. Dues is $25. So this is not for businesses. This is not intended to be a burden. It's really just intended to be a way for people to connect and have a way to kind of bring the businesses together. So in 2025, SEDGE helped co-sponsor the Community Horizon Speakers event, where there was 6 months of speakers, some in person, some in Zoom, that talked about business promotion and rural development. Then they worked directly with the summer intern that the city funded and helped coordinate the new business database and conducted a business survey. Worked with the intern on that. They helped sponsor the Business View magazine article. That was a national magazine that Solon was in. They helped coordinate the grand opening for Vision Center PC of Solon. Had our annual membership meeting out at the golf course. We're partners on Shop the Walk and the annual Christmas tree walk, and do an annual or quarterly newsletter. So at the meeting in October, the initiatives were decided that to establish some committees. There was a lot of interest in having some special events and some membership opportunities. So those are in the works. Also, the wayfinding signage that I announced that was fully funded by the Solon Area Community Foundation. They are formally requesting to manage the advertising space on those signs at the SRNA. And.
What does that mean?
The signs are designed to have space for people to advertise, businesses to advertise. And so Sedge would like to have the management of that part to be able to create a policy and advertise that space to the businesses and manage that space for the city. Feel it's a good it's something that the businesses asked for. They asked for signage on the trail. They've asked for opportunities to advertise, and Sedge would like to help manage that space, create the policy. Obviously, the city council would approve it, figure out what it's gonna cost. They're thinking an annual fee to be on the sign to advertise.
Aren't the businesses listed on the signs right now?
They're on the template of the sign as an example to see what that advertising space is gonna look like.
So I misunderstood that. I thought when we approved that, not the council, the foundation, that the businesses would be listed on the signs.
They will if they pay for space on the signs.
That wasn't very clear.
Yes. Yeah, so that's the intent, is for the businesses to be able to buy ad space on those signs.
So where does that money go?
Well, that's up to whatever the council agrees with the Sedge to decide where that money goes. Does it go into maintenance for the signs? Where does that money go? It's something that they'd like to work with you on to determine that.
So they probably want to take a little bit to maintain it, but then they want to give the rest of it back to the city to put it towards what we see fit.
Hopefully economic development in this.
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
So they'd ask for continued support for the downtown development and, to continue to invest. Continue to invest in the Greater Iowa City program, which the city is a partner with. And then they then offer that broader exposure for the businesses that Sedge can't. Sedge is the small, but Greater Iowa City is
Sure.
the county. And they're able to offer programs and outreach that Sedge isn't able to. So what their requests are is to, have an opportunity to discuss that business space on the signs. Continue with another summer intern. The city budgeted engine intern last year worked out well. Continue to provide administrative support. So when the intern left, there were things that we've, as staff, have picked up and carried on and continued, like the newsletter, an annual budget contribution, and just to be part of the conversation of the downtown development that's going to happen down here. So one of the initiatives that they're planning this year is a Why Solon. So during that business survey, one of the questions is, why Solon? What do you like about Solon? Why do you live here? Why do you work here? Why do you have business here? So there's a long list of whys. And so one of the ideas that the Sedge had was to do a campaign, a Why Solon campaign, and that involves social media and newspaper ads. Just really more of a community outreach. Why Solon? Just a good feel good outreach. So that's on their radar for this year. And so in this budget right now is $2,500 for another summer intern and $2,500 contribution to Sedge for the ad campaign and just general support. Again, the $25 that businesses give in doesn't really cover the expenses to advertise for the Shop the Walk and the Christmas tree walk and the other things that they already support. So just know that that's in here. And so as we have the conversations. And that's and I don't know if I mentioned that currently the president of Sedge is Dave Steen. I'm vice president, Brian Brandt, secretary, and Paula Sears is treasurer. Okay, I think that's all I have to show on the screen for now. All right, so. I think it's probably a good time to move on to the capital equipment. You have a sheet that's kind of folded up. So, we know we've been talking a lot about this turf groomer, and I wanted you to have an idea before we get into the overall budget, just, what this capital equipment, program is. You saw, I gave you a copy of what it was. I gave you a copy of the program last time, but this is how we track the money. We set aside money each year, and then we track, and it goes into one pot, but this helps us have an idea of how we're gonna allocate it. So I folded it for you so you can see the labels, and then you can see what's planned for 2027. So if it's folded like this shows you what 2027 looks like. It's the top one. And it still lets you see those headings. So money is set aside out of the general fund, out of water and sewer each year. And these are allocated, for example, if we need a $100,000 dump truck and it's gonna last 15 years, then we gotta do that math and make sure we're setting money aside. So that's how that works. So in 2027, we are planning so we're setting aside $221,200. Some of that's coming from general, some's coming from water and sewer. And we're planning to buy a street sweeper for $80,000. We also have the leases that come out of there. We have a lease for the mower, and we have 2 leases for the track loader and the wheel loader. So those come out. So those, if it's coming out, it's in blue. And then we also have 15,000 planning to come out for trailers that the Public Works are allocating for trailers. So I wanted to show you this so that we have these conversations going through the expenditures, how this all comes together and how we track the set aside. Going forward, you're gonna see that there's not a lot of expenditures coming out. And that's because we need to go back and update the capital replacement schedule, and then we're gonna come back with an updated one of these. But for now, it lets you see 2027 because that's the year we're talking about. Makes sense? So go ahead.
Sorry, with the quote that we have for that turf maintenance vehicle, I don't know what the proper term is for it. Looking at 48,000 with the add-ons. Is that something that we feel like we would set, that we purchase a year from now and start setting aside now? Or is it something that we would look to purchase this year and kind of
So
rebuild the?
yeah, I got 25,000 budgeted, so I got half of it budgeted, not coming out of here. Cause it's new, this is a new, oh no, I'm sorry. No, it's not I didn't add that, I added the 0 turn mower, that's another conversation. So we would add, if we're going to replace it, we may wanna add a column for that, it's not in here now. I have $25,000 in the budget, so that would be half of it. And then, the council could, budget 25,000 next year. And we could buy it next year. Another option is we budget 25,000 this year. Something that we're already saving for, we borrow that other half of it and go ahead and buy it. And then next year, when we budget the other 25, rather than going buying it, we're just repaying this account. Those are 2 options. So I guess that's a decision that you have to make after we talk about it some more. If that's something that you feel like it's an urgent piece of equipment, that's an option if we wanted to get it sooner than later.
This updated one, this is for the lease, right? But this is if like.
So the 47,299 is if we just bought it outright. I had them give me the numbers if we did a 5-year lease to own, which would be 11,130 annual payment. So essentially we'd be paying 8,300 in interest to do the lease to own. So it's just two options. We can either purchase it straight out for 47,299, or we could do a lease to own. You're gonna pay more interest, but then it's just an annual payment of 11,000 and change. So I just want to make sure you guys had a couple different options to look at.
So what changed on here, I guess, because the last one was what, 39,000? I don't remember what what was that?
Yeah, it's right about 40,000. So this was adding the broadcast spreader, which is front mount, so fertilizing, overseeding, stuff like that. And then also, a split aerator to aerate all the outfields, soccer fields, parks. I mean, pretty much any green space.
How's this to do that versus hiring somebody?
Well, that's what that
We hit 14,000.
invoice from, or estimate from Kraft would have been.
That's what I'm saying, by us adding those
Yeah,
extra pieces, we're now able to do some things before we were hiring people, correct?
Yeah. Initial cost is gonna hurt, but we'd be money ahead in a few years
Right.
by doing
We're gonna
it.
pay it back in probably 2.5 years. For that,
Yeah, and to be fair, we haven't been doing that level of maintenance to
Right.
that field because it hasn't been a competition field, but now that it's going to be. So those are new expenses for that field that we didn't have before.
And then this would just be making sure that the fields that we currently have, our baseball diamonds, our soccer fields, are in the best, or at least better, shape than we can currently keep them in, so.
I think
That
that
was
was,
ask one thing real quick though, as far as. Are we married to Kraft? Cause like Lee Nerad does a lot of this stuff. He's got all this equipment.
I don't
I
know,
guess, have we ever quoted anybody else
it's
for?
more of the fact that he's already doing all the work right there at the baseball field, so. That's,
you were
They're doing
gonna
some work for us,
I mean, he's done work
blowing
for
out
us,
the
so.
lines and.
Yeah, I mean, they have to, blow out the lines for the baseball field. It's technically part of the same system, they're just a valve that separates them. So when it blows theirs out, we have to blow ours out, which is nice, because then he works the sprinkler heads. They need replaced, they get replaced, so.
I think the answer is no, but it's,
Well, I'm just wondering why we can't get.
I think a competitive quote.
What kind of mower are we gonna buy?
Yeah, that's a Toro.
Yeah.
You wanna talk about it?
Yeah, so, we currently have 1 0-turn and 1 wide area mower. Wide area mower is nice for SRNA, really kind of makes the process a little bit quicker. It's taking the whole week, and basically it's just a cycle, we just run mower, so, and then our 0-turn that we currently have is nice for mowing some of the ditches and stuff, with the added green space that we're getting out of Trail Ridge. As soon as they build those sidewalks going out, I'm assuming we're gonna be the ones that are mowing all the way out there, so I'd like to get ahead of it, or behind it. This would also help the recreation department mowing the baseball fields and stuff like that. A lot of times when they want fields mowed, our guys are busy doing something else, hard to break away, so this will allow them to, come get the mower. Also be able to utilize this, the wastewater plant. The old one and the new one, so. It's a little bit smaller than the current 0-turn we have now. I think that's a better option for doing, some of the fields in the tighter areas. That 72-inch we have, I mean, it works, but it gets beat up pretty bad, trying to do some of the smaller stuff.
Would that be like a 48 to 60?
This one would be a 60-inch, yeah, which would be like, Mushroom Park, we used to mow it, push mow, nobody else push mow anymore. So this would fit around all the shrubbery, the Solon sign up there. And then we went with the Tweels option, just because it's a little easier on the turf too, as far as turning around and. So, just really trying to get ahead, because I know coming up, we're gonna have a lot more, we do a lot of mowing as this.
It just makes you more efficient with your mowing.
Yeah, and it seems like every time one breaks down, the other one breaks down too, so kind of trying to look at that option, that we're not dead in the water for a couple days waiting on parts or waiting on so.
Did you by chance check with Thomas Sowell Hardware on a price?
For a zero turn?
Yes.
No.
I think if you recall, first council meeting, that was one of the things that I suggested.
Does he sell commercial?
I
mowers?
would ask him. He says no, he says no. But my big thing is, as I stated, I think too often we get used to doing what we're doing. Rather than think, we want people to support what we're doing, we need to at least try. I'm not saying this is a place to go, I'm saying it's important to try. And the big advantage I see, if he's interested and it works for what we want, we're not running somewhere to get it fixed, he's right here.
I can check, as far as I understand, he doesn't sell anything commercial in this size, so, but we can certainly talk with him and
Absolutely.
see if it's something he's interested in.
I'm not trying to be a clown here, but
No,
my dad was in business in town for 40+ years.
Yep.
Nothing irritated him more when someone went outside of town and spent more money. Without even getting an opportunity. As
absolutely.
I said, if he says no, that's fine. But I think it's important for us as a city to try first. Thank you.
Yep.
So on that, the 15,000 for that mower is in this budget, and then we started a new category on this. The mower zero, so there's nothing in there because it's a new category. This year we'll start putting away 2,000 aside. To be able to replace that mower. They take a beating. And it's definitely equipment that we want to be setting some money aside for, so we can keep it running well. I don't know, just want to put that turf groomer a little while and just keep moving. I mean, we don't have to decide that right this minute.
One question I was gonna ask you on the street sweeper, I think we've pushed that out in the past.
But yeah,
I don't know if it's something where it's worth thinking about pushing out. Can it be pushed out based on how frequently that we're using anything like that? I'm just trying to think if there's ways to get the turf groomer. I would like to see us get that sooner rather than later on it, and so I'd just be curious if that's something that does it create risk if we push it out as far as
So the
breakdowns
more
weren't
you
there?
use it, the more breakdowns we have right now. That's why it's not getting used as much, is because it does break down often. And that comes with age and just time. So, I mean, we can get prices. Maybe we don't have to spend the full 80. I do think it might be a good idea to look at something newer.
Newer but not brand new, is that what you're saying?
We don't have to go brand new. If we can find good, like newer used one.
All things being good, you got a great street sweeper. How often would you use it a year? How many times?
Like,
Spring and fall or summer too, or?
we try a couple times a quarter, but,
Okay.
but, that comes with, time and.
Well, yeah, if you got good equipment, you're gonna use it. If you're worried about a break and,
Well,
it's like, yeah, maybe
yeah.
next week.
one of the things we were gonna work on for this year was, a better schedule as far as, street sweeper maintenance, just so kind of like section off blocks, this is what we want to get done, maybe
Sure.
every month or whatever, so we've never really had that, it's just been like, hey, it's nice they want me to go sweep, so.
Yeah. But it seems like every time we try to use it, something is just not working right or.
Frustrating.
Yes.
So there's no value to that one.
No, there's still value. Like, yeah. And I'm hoping we can like trade it in on something. But that'll come with just talking with the salesman and see what they got and go from there.
When it works great.
Yes, when it works, it does work great.
So you tell the salesman. Polish the turd.
I'm sure you take it to him on one of those days.
Yeah.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Yeah.
The city of Ely approached us about sharing one, but it just gets too complicated. Who's gonna store it? Who broke it when it doesn't work? And it's not the kind of piece of equipment that shares well.
Transport's a big issue, they're not meant to be,
Yeah, you're not gonna run.
they're not highway, you can't run down the highway.
Oh, boy.
That was a big issue is.
You know, bike trail on your way over.
That would not be fun to drive over there and back.
No. 18 mile an hour.
Bicycles be fast enough. Alright, and that's something, if we need, I don't wanna.
Yeah, no, I
If
mean, I
it's a
think
need,
it's a
but just-
conversation, I mean, you know,
One thing I'd add is like, you know, we have an account for the chipper. Chipper we have still works. We rarely use it anymore because the amount of brush that we intake. We never could keep up with it. So essentially we hire that out once a year just to have it all one through. So that would be like an account, you know, where we could, I wouldn't say drain it completely, but if we wanted to borrow for this year.
Okay,
And then add to it later on, that would be one I would feel is,
think the savings about.
yeah,
Which one?
the chipper.
My guess is with the chippers, it's a little bit easier to let somebody else do it rather than,
Yeah,
Take
so like,
the
when
time.
we did brush pickup, we used to pull around, chip right in the
Yeah.
truck. But then, you know, there's 95% of our brush that comes in is coming from other people, not what we're picking
Yeah.
up once a month, so. It's,
And it's truckloads, big logs. I mean,
you know,
no.
our chipper
can't do
handles 4 to 6 inch.
I mean,
tops.
what you're describing makes a lot more sense
Yeah,
than trying to be everything to everybody.
yeah.
Yeah.
Got somebody who's come in and spend a day, do it, amen.
That's high, isn't
No,
it? No?
who does the shipping?
Well, I'm glad you asked
Oh, I
about
know the name.
Yeah,
Lion,
Lion.
yeah.
Yeah.
Lining.
it. We've rotated kind of, we used to.
We saw, I thought he was.
No, we use him for some tree work, but he doesn't do the brush chipping.
It was usual.
We used to rotate with Nugel and then, we've just kind of stuck with Miney lately. It's, when we call, he's right there. So they're price wise, they're pretty competitive. It's not like one's,
This is
way
the
cheaper.
biannual mulching. Yeah.
yeah, once a year, which we try to stockpile as tight as we can and just do it one time. So
Yeah.
that's a big expense.
I would, if the chipper could wait, I would be open to not touching the street sweeper, and if we have 25,000 in there, pulling the remaining to get that. Or sheet,
I feel like we can't wait on that, so.
cause I feel like the price on that, if we wait a year from now, is probably not gonna be 47.3. Just for my thoughts.
I agree with you.
Mhm.
I'd rather buy it outright too than lease.
Same, I think this is, we did check with Nevada and they think they've had theirs about 4 years. So, you know, we're just trying to figure out what their lifespan is.
And they haven't had a single problem with it.
Even if it only lasts 4 years, looking at the lease option, that's
Yeah.
44 grand versus.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's that 50
Yeah.
years, $3,000 a year versus
Right.
$11,000 a year, so. It's interesting knowing how you guys take care of things as well.
Yeah.
Consensus is to look at that borrowing from that chipper for now. Is that what I'm hearing?
Mhm.
I'm just looking for that schedule to see when our chippers due.
I don't know if it actually was ever.
Yeah, how many days a day?
I think with that, we could have the plan to be coming from the chipper, but if the sweeper came in less than 80.
Yeah,
Take anything left,
Right.
over, something
The
like
two.
that, or
yeah,
the trailers at 15.
Right now, the chipper's listed as indefinite, so.
okay,
Yeah, I just got. That's one fun food.
Okay. all right, all right, we'll make a note of that. And then they also bought theirs back direct from the, manufacturer, because there really wasn't a lot of dealers in the business for these at the time, so can also see if that's an option.
I think the straight from manufacturer price for, the base model was $1,000 less, but that also. The Turfworks one comes laser ready, so if you want to, have the lasers set up for the additional, attachments for leveling out, like actually regrading everything. So it comes laser ready and it comes with the wheels, which is not, standard it comes with regular wheels. So that's why the turbo one was $1,000 more than the one straight from ADI. It's actually already got a little bit of upgrades on it. So That's why.
The wheels themselves are probably.
Yeah,
You're talking the wheels on the machine or the mower?
on the machine,
Oh, okay.
that's, so if you look at turf works, that initial is 33,000. If you went straight to ABI, I believe it was 32,000. But it's just with wheels, and then the standard, it doesn't have, it's not laser ready. So whatever the additional parts are, they just, turf works, that's how they sell it. They sell it with wheels, laser ready, because that's what. You can usually, people usually come back and want it anyway, so they just try to have their setup.
Will this fit in that shed behind the concession stand? Like where the current drags?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just didn't know how big this thing was.
It doesn't take up any more room than the one that's starting in it, so.
Perfect.
In fact, there's two of them there now, so.
Probably a good time for a quick break. Everybody needs one.
But pretty so.
No? Well, let's keep plugging. Okay, we're gonna move on to expenditures. You got a new recap. Has today's date on it and the right year this time. So this reflects the new numbers, we got some more information since the last meeting, so I've updated the revenues and expenditures, and you have a new expenditure report. This is the one that we take a little more time going through, so you can kind of understand the departments and kind of the nuances within the departments. And then we go back and look at the recap and kind of help you it helps making decisions when you kind of have a chance to go through and understand the expenditures. So, the first one on the expenditures, and it should say expenditures 128 at the top, Amy wrote on it. This expenditure report follows the same format. First column is what we spent last year, and then the next two columns are the same number. It's what's budgeted this year, and then the fourth column is what's been spent so far this year. And then the last column under requested is what is being presented as a proposed expenditure for next year. First section is community protection. This is primarily our agreement with the sheriff's office, and the $2,500 there is for utilities. We do pay the utilities at the sheriff's substation, and those are right now currently grouped under utilities under fire protection. But when this building goes away, I just have them combined. I have that building and that building combined right now, but when this building goes away, I'm gonna move them back. I'm gonna move them into community protection. So those are for utilities at that building. And then that's our contract amount, the $149.85 for FY27. The next one's emergency management. We have a contract with, for hazard services with Johnson County Emergency Management, and that's a per capita. I think it's like 75 cents per person times our population, our census population. The next section under flood, that's if we would have some FEMA disaster, but fortunately we haven't had anything recently. So fire protection department 1150, that is the utilities for this building right now. And we have phone and internet there, meaning the old fire station. And then we have a contract with the fire agency where the city pays 67.5 cents for our valuation. And each of the townships do the same. So that's the amount for FY27, and that gets paid in quarterly payments to the agency.
So that jumped because of more property.
It jumped slightly because of more property. Yes, so that valuation that we looked at, it impacts that number. Then we get into animal control, and we have a contract with Cedar Valley Humane Society. And also they take strays. They also if we pick up an animal, they'll come pick it up here. We work with the sheriff's department to get the animal and then they'll come pick it up. So that's an average of what our costs are. Sometimes that's high, sometimes that's low. We sometimes have community members that like to round up cats. And we like, fine, take them up there. It beats us taking the time to go up there, and it does help with the feral cat population. So sometimes, some years it's higher depending on how active our residents are to help with the feral cat situation. Next, we're getting into road use at the bottom of that page. So there's there's a roadway maintenance in general, and there's a road use in road use. So keep in mind that road are basically streets department, and we don't get enough money in road use to be able to pay for the entire operations on road use. So we have to have a separate account in general to help pay for it. And so this is, has salaries, uniforms, training, all the things that, are public works related are in here. We've had,
Amy, excuse me a second.
yeah,
We jumped the training under the roadway maintenance $3,000. Is that just stuff our people have going on we need to take care of?
yeah. So the, where we're at, Greg, is we went through restructuring when Scott left.
Yes.
And what we realized is that we have, we moved people into superintendent positions and we brought in new staff. And there just is a big need to get people certified
Sure,
and trained,
sure.
so we have the coverage. Yeah,
Understand.
that's exactly what that's for. So we had 2 new employees, you know, often they're coming in without their CDLs, so that's an expense.
Yeah.
And then the water and, so there's 2 basic certifications needed in water and 1 basic certification in sewer just to get grade 1s. And
Sure.
then there's grades 2 and 3.
Yep.
So yes,
Yep.
that's absolutely. The other thing is we've really focused on, this restructuring is, you know, we have such a strong core team in Public Works, and they have a real strong desire to, you know, broaden their leadership skills,
Yeah.
broaden their experience, broaden their knowledge, network with other people in the industry, and going to some of those conferences that are held in the Public Works world are part of it.
Yeah.
Typically, they're across the state. It's a 2 or 3 night hotel stay,
Yeah.
but they're very valuable. So we want to take advantage of that opportunity and as our part of our professional development plan for Public Works.
Not that it happens as much on the city level, it does on the lumber level. But like with CDLs, for instance, we're paying for somebody's CDL. That in recent years has exploded in cost. I mean, we're talking about thousands of dollars now versus hundreds. Is there a contract with the new hire? No. So they can just get their CDL and leave if they chose.
Yes, they can. If they come in with a CDL, they're gonna get a higher wage, you know, because they're coming in with it.
Mhm.
I think it's about $1,800 right now
Mhm.
in Kirkwood. Yep.
That's something we can kick the personnel and see if we wanted to look at having some type of agreement and stuff like that.
Well, I just don't, like I said, the city level is different, but if someone wants me to pay for theirs, I make them sign a contract. They can't. Sure.
Make a note of that. I'm not sure of our legalities, but that's something we can certainly talk about. Any other questions on that first page? Next page, wanted to note under building maintenance, a little higher than, our current budget, but that's because, there's some building repairs needed. And then you wanna talk about that, but I got the quote too.
Yeah, so we have 2, one with the solvent and then 1 smaller one just to store some things. That whole top is bent, and that tarp is like tore and like ripped, she said too. So Ty, I came over, from Freedom like Buildings. And, he told me that he would recommend, doing the whole top. like, you know, tarp and frame, because it's bent. Cause then you'll get, you know, like better, like span out of your tarp. And that was 20.
I got the bid here I got 12,706.
Oh, yeah,
For if he did the whole thing.
yes,
And then 62 if he did just the tarp.
yep. And he said if you did just the tarp, if I buy us 5 to 7 years. And then if you do the whole frame and tarp, you know, it should last 10 to 15. So,
That's something, if and when everything moves to the wastewater treatment.
And that can be moved.
That can be moved,
Yeah.
correct.
yep,
So we had 20 in there. Thinking, not sure if we were gonna go, you know, just the tarp. But I think what their public works recommendation is to replace the whole thing. So I bumped it up another $3,000 to cover that. And then the rest of it is just general public maintenance, public building maintenance. Let's see, I'm just gonna jump out, as we go down, as we look down this list, I'm gonna point out the ones that, I made a change from the last time and explain why. But if there's any others you wanna talk about, we're happy to. Capital equipment and vehicles increased from 259 to 277,500, and that was, to add the, 16,500 for the new mower. And then an additional $2,000 set aside. So we're now saving for that mower once it needs replaced. So that's the reason for that change. Then, I want to note that under sidewalk construction, it says $10,000, but we've had conversations about doing the sidewalk out to Trail Ridge. But I don't have any hard quotes from that. That would be a special project that we would have to figure out how that's going to be funded, either from recoupment fees that we received from the development, or is it gonna be a project we bond for? So I have that noted, but that's gonna be, that $10,000 sidewalk construction right now is we divide the city into 5 sections each year. And we inspect the sidewalks. We send those folks letters saying, fix your sidewalks. But within those sections, there's city sidewalks that need repaired too. So we're responsible for a lot of the intersections, and then they have the ADA. So there's expenses to the city as well. And that's what that helps to cover. And then you're also gonna see that increased from 120 this current year under storm drainage improvements. That's the curb and gutter program. Because really the intention of the curb and gutter is to channel the storm water. So it's not flooding, it's getting directed and, you know, toward the sewer plant through the curbs. So that's the big change there under that department. The next one is street lighting. That's for all the street lighting in town. We're required by law to just show that as a separate category on our reports. So that's what it costs to light up the city of Solon. $46,200.
Can I mention something about lights? Real quick,
Sure.
the Solon sign coming in from the north. Why can't we get that as the match, the Solon?
Answer this.
Yeah. Cause that pisses me off every time. I like that.
The original LED lights are a lot less brighter. The S went out, I don't know, 2 years ago. And it's just brighter. It's probably time to do all of them. The issue is the mice really like to get in there. The last time we had the S off, we just about all vomited, so it's about the worst smell ever. But that was something that we could definitely put on our list
It was
to,
very good.
yeah.
learned something tonight.
Yeah.
Yep. The shop stunk for about 3 weeks, so,
Did you rotate letters? Like you just pick the guy?
yeah,
Just pick-
yeah.
You got the L. You got.
It's definitely something we can add to our Our list for the year.
Just a quick little curious question.
I'll let you know when we do it, you can come out.
All right.
So bottom of that page is library services. Liz went through that, with you at the last, meeting that she was here. She couldn't be here tonight. The only change in that was I did have to adjust the employee group health insurance slightly. I didn't have a number in there last time. I left it blank because I still I didn't know the number, but I do now, so that just increased a little bit.
Is that thrown in with the with the salary, or is that under the insurance, group insurance? Or with the
Yes.
salary? Okay.
Yeah, it's employee group insurance, yep. So no real changes there other than that. Under parks. On page 3. I added under service and maintenance, 64390, that Krafka cost. I added an additional, 12,285. There was $1,000, so I increased that there. But again, I offset revenues by half of that, anticipating that the school will help with that number. Then, 2 down from that, you see other capital equipment, 25,000. That's the turf groomer. That's half of the turf groomer. Also in this budget, you're gonna see, probably some fees that you wouldn't normally see under some of the parks, because all the mulch has to be replaced this year. And Ryan got a bid on all the park playgrounds, and so we divvied that up against all the parks in town. So we have the 2 pocket parks in Old Mill Creek. Windmill Estates has the playground. Fox Ridge has the playground. The Prairie Acres has the basketball court. I don't think they have any mulch over there, do they? No, okay. And then Randall Park, and then the SRNA playground. So we're getting a lot of parks. I don't think there's any mulch at Trail Ridge, is there? Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there is, okay. Okay, well, anyway, Ryan got all those, numbers together, and those are in here, so that's something we have to do every few years, is get all the mulch refreshed. Let's see, the next section on page 4, most of that's recreation. And that is, Brody talked about that when he was here. Not a lot of changes, but more just kind of moving things around a little bit. I do want to note that under utilities, it says $35,000, but we spent $71,000. The agreement we have with the school is that we pay up to the lease that we pay is that we pay about, it comes out to about $35,000 toward the expenses. And then Jordan Creek, who leases the building for about $22,000, that goes toward that. And then the school pays anything beyond that, but we pay them up front. And then we get reimbursed by the school in Jordan Creek. So that's why the expense doesn't match necessarily. When you look at that. Also, the last one, Music on Main. Nancy Uppmeyer has for 20+ years coordinated Music on Main. She's a volunteer. We ask Beef Days for a donation. We also send letters to all the businesses in town, and they send in donations. So there's some years we get quite a few, some we don't, but it's still, iconic part of summer in Solon. So that gets budgeted out of that. Next, page 5. This is where we're still in general fund. I'll let you know when we're not in general fund anymore. And, this is, where you see the city council, wages and the mayor wages. And then it starts on about halfway down the page, it starts financial administration. And that encompasses city hall wages. And under fees, I want to note that there are a couple things in there I want to make sure that you know. One is the $2,500 request for sedge. The other one is the city has historically supported the Old Gold Dining or senior dining program. And currently the city funds $15,000 toward the site coordinator. So that's what's in that fees. We are gonna be facing as kind of little unknowns. We don't, I mean, the new city hall has geothermal. We're not sure what kind of utility bills we're gonna see. It's obviously a larger space than this. So it's just to be known, we'll figure it out as we go. I think the numbers that, are in here, are maybe just slightly elevated, but we're still kind of in an unknown area for a year. What we also don't know is how long are we gonna be paying for two buildings? Cause we're gonna still have to heat and cool this until it's sold. Same with the old fire station. So we are in a little bit of a, area we're gonna have some overlap. Building inspector fees at the bottom of that page, those are an in and out. Those come in, but then they go right back out to the building inspector. So there's something that we have to show as an expense, but it's an expense, but we get the money in, but then it goes right back out. Similar to garbage, those fees come in, but then they go back out. The other change that I made on financial administration was office equipment. I added $6,000, which wasn't there previously because we do need new computers here at City Hall. We just don't want to try to move and do new computers at the same time. I've done that before and it's a disaster. So we want to get there, get settled, and then get new computers after July. So that's 3 new desktops. The next section is for elections. No elections planned for this year that I'm aware of. And then when we get into legal services, that's for our city attorney. Then engineering fees, that is for our city engineer. Now, this is an area that if somebody submits a site plan and it gets reviewed by our engineer, we bill back those services to that applicant. But there's lots of work and questions that the council may have or research that needs to be done that's outside of a situation that we have to bill somebody. So that's what that covers. And you can see last year we were at 29, so not that far off. We're high this year because of that 70,000 because everything going on with the wastewater treatment plant. But what we'll eventually do is we will shift those fees at the end of the year. We're also getting reimbursed for those fees right now through the planning and design loan. Any questions on financial administration? Then the last one in general fund is garbage. So we have our fee for the garbage service, and then we do have a small expense for the stickers. And then that takes us to the end of the general fund. So looking at last year, or I mean, at our current year, we, so the 4 million that was spent last year, we bought another building last year for $1 million. So that's why that's elevated. If you look, if you're looking at the columns, this year we're, at 2.8 budgeted. We're at 1.5 right now, so 3.1 for next year is not out of line for, what is, a, across all the departments for an increase. So let's stop here and take a look at the general fund, sheet, the recap. So we talked about the revenues, we talked about the expenditures. I made some changes, obviously, since the last time we're in the black about $2,000. One of the things I need to point out is that when you go to look at sewer utility, we're in the plus $87,000. But if you recall, we have a certain amount of money I have to set aside from those sewer debt fees and those user fees. So once that amount is determined what that's going to be, I know I have to set that aside. That's going to reduce, actually going to create a red in that department, just not doing it on paper because I haven't deducted those. So what I have to do, then I have to look at the general fund and make that up. So how I do that is all of the employees have their wages spread out amongst the variety of funds, general fund, water and sewer. And for us to be able to make sure we have coverage, then I have to shift. For example, I'm paid a certain percentage out of general, a certain percentage out of water, a certain percentage out of sewer. I don't like to shift those unless I have to, because it's difficult to track and create a consistent budget. But if I have to, that's how I have to do that, or we have to cut something. So that's our goal here. We have to kind of figure out what that number is that I have to set aside out of sewer. We have to figure out what our shortage is, and we have to figure out where it's coming from. Do I need to shift around? Do we have some room elsewhere that I can shift? Or do we need to cut something? That's kind of why that number is important, that I have a number for this budget, what those sewer debt fees are going to be, because I have to set that 87 plus whatever that amount is aside. Then if we're short, I have to find that. I can find maybe some of it in water, but most of the time I have to go back to the general fund and make up that shortfall. So we'll keep going. I know it's a lot, but that's that's just, this is how it works, I mean, it's not it's not possible. It's just moving numbers around, but based on your priorities. I mean, I obviously could go move numbers around, but I need to move numbers around based on how you feel is what are the priorities and what are some of these numbers that you want to see, because as elected officials, you're held accountable by the public for what's in these budgets. And so, obviously not everybody agrees on everything, but hopefully we can come to some agreement so we can get something in here. So let's move on to page 7, trusted agencies. So the next couple of pages are trusted agencies. What those are is that's money held in trust. So if somebody makes a donation, that money typically goes into a trust and agency. It can be spent, like if it's the library trust, it's the library trust and agency, the library can spend that money. It's just not thrown into our general. It's money that's been held in trust. So it can be spent. A few of them have some nuances. But most of the time, you can, as long as they're spent for the intended purpose. Well, one of the other ones is, we have a rec and nature one. So all the fees that we get from the Timber Dome go into the trust. And then when we have repairs or unexpected expenses, or we want to do improvements, we can pull from that money. So that's some examples of what those are. So, that's why there's a lot of zeros. They're just not really active funds. When we get to page 8, we start, Fund 110, and that's the road use. And you'll recall, we're gonna get that, money from gas, the gas tax that comes to us, per capita. That amount was like $142 times 318 people that we have in Solon as of the census. So that money is what's spent first, and then we use the general fund money. So Public Works is divided between road use and general fund, and this is the portion of that road use, streets, Public Works Department, that's for roads. Again, an employee from Public Works may be partially paid out of general, partially paid out of road use, partially paid out of water, partially paid out of sewer.
That's why there's that jump.
That is exactly why there's that jump.
Okay.
Yes. That is exactly why there's that jump, but you'll see that there's not big jumps in some of the other funds. This one had the ability to take the cushion a little better than the other funds.
What's a street maintenance contract?
Well, it's a lot of times it's whatever improvements are agreed upon by the streets committee to be done
Okay,
that year.
I-
Yeah, and we have seal coat,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, more of my question was, is it an actual contract with somebody right now? Or is
No.
this a line item that we
Yeah.
need put in there? Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Really a way to make sure that the streets don't
Oh, I
deteriorate.
understand
Yeah.
completely.
And then we also track, snow separately. That's down at the bottom of the page. And this section is kind of set up. We have to do a special report to the state. And this is set up to kind of align with the way we have to report. And they like the snow and ice removal tracked separately, like it's shown here. So yes, that's exactly why we're seeing that jump. To be able to balance this budget to the degree I have, the road use fund was able to handle more salaries than they typically had. And also when we, added 2 new staff, we allocated them differently. Put less pressure on water and sewer because we knew those funds were already kind of at capacity. So general and road use had to take a little more of that pressure. No questions? Page 9, top of is special levy. This is for our insurance, our employee insurance. This is on that certification. There was a number for the levy, and so we look at what we're paying right now. We had to add the 12% to that. Then also the city does what's something called a buy down. And so if Wellmark says your deductible is $3,000 for an individual, the city buys it down to $250. Now, not every employee is going to go and use that every year. It only depends if they have a major medical situation, but we do have to budget a certain amount of exposure because of that. So it's like you're partially self-insured. So that goes into account into this number. Fortunately, we got a pretty good cushion built up that we don't have to elevate that number really above our current needs. So the 152 is, that's a levy that's gonna come in off that certification. It's gonna come in as part of that 1153 we talked about. So that's the expense, but we're gonna be getting money in to cover that. Bottom of the page is TIF. That was the TIF ask that we had to ask to cover the bonds. Page 10 are the bonds kind of listed out. They're the same thing that we saw on this. It's just, different way. Just that's the way they're listed, how they show up in the report. Page 11, 12, 11, nothing, 12 has, the water tower maintenance agreement at the top. Council approved that last year, and that's the annual payment. Page 13, the bottom of that, we start the water department. I feel like there was a change there. Yeah, there was a change. So, on page 14, under service agreement, we are getting, we're getting a, what's it called, Dave? We're getting something on the water tower that reads all the meters in town from the tower.
Correct.
The Wi-Fi.
Yeah, whatever it's called.
So right now, well, the old days, we used to drive around and walk to every house and put the thing on the wall and read it. Now we have a system that you drive around the truck. Takes about 2 hours, and we've upgraded to a new system that the water tower will just constantly read. So you can real time anybody's water.
And that's,
Right.
that's 99% of the town, right? That's what that covered,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might have to put up like,
extended.
extenders.
Yeah. So
Is
anyway, that maintenance contract's a little more than our current one.
But it's saving us 2 hours
Labor.
of
Yeah,
of labor a month.
Or more.
Or because you put Susie in there too.
Susie will be the one that does the download to read the meters instead of somebody driving out. So it's gonna capture the water tower and send it to.
But it's got a great rate of accuracy that people aren't gonna complain that they're getting screwed by.
It's not,
some digital read.
it's not any different than what we use now, it's just on a larger scale.
More efficient.
More efficient.
So that's going on top of the towers when the weather breaks. So, that was budgeted in previously, so it's already underway. So that was the only change in water. Water collections is really just more the accounting side of the water billing process. Then page 15 is where we start sewer. We had a change in there from the last report, and that was because Dave and I met with Dave Scheckinger and Emily Linebaugh, and they let us know that there's gonna be a lot more aggressive testing gearing up for the new wastewater treatment plant, and that we should budget some more for labs. So we bumped that up. One thing you're gonna see here is, as you look at the departments, other than road use, is, the shift in public works is noticeable here, just the way wages and salaries have worked out. So it is important to note that the personnel committee is gonna need to meet, and they're planning to, we're planning to meet with the personnel committee in February and talk with Public Works and kind of figure out a path forward. So that may impact the wages, and so those are not in this budget, so that's something to be thinking about. If that would, the structure going forward, would change significantly, we need to account for that. Then I also noted at the bottom of that recap that what's not in this budget is that temporary food building that we talked about the last time. And that baseline security assessment, we did get an updated quote on that, 5525. And I meet with them tomorrow, so I really don't wanna go too, get too, push for that too hard to.
On the recap sheet. Where we have the 80,000, it says new sweeper 80,000 not included. Is the thought that we would pull that from the set aside that we build up over time, then we'll draw that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't create very good categories. The things not included are the temp storage and the baseline. That's kind of, streets, the new sweeper, the repairs to the timber dome, the half of the turf groomer and craft gut, are in.
Okay.
Are in.
Okay.
So,
So from a decisions, thinking back that in the past, we've had to pick from the things at the bottom, so the items on the left are in there from the conversation for the half of the turf groomer. That
Mhm.
would, the other part would come from the grinder. Or chipper, on there. So it's really, if we want to get that baseline assessment in there. We just need to come up with the dollars to do that. On top of, as far as what else we need to come up with is what we determine the sewer
Mhm.
fees are.
Yeah.
Okay.
so when I look right now at those sewer fees, $175,000 is what I have budgeted. And that would need to be set aside, so that would come out of that 80, that 87 is part of what needs to be, so in addition, and then whatever is decided on sewer usage fees. Which we have 37 in there right now, so it's a little grimmer look when you look at it from that perspective, but I have some. I have some ways to, like I say, move salaries around, I need a number for that, so I can do that. It's difficult for me to. I can guess a million different ways. I need some numbers to plug in there so I can bring back options for you.
I know we saw last week with it. I think I would lean towards Heidi's recommendation, knowing that Heidi's been working on this with Candy for the last couple of years. Like I said, it's hard to swallow some bills. I think we use Candy as an example. Last week where her sewer bill would go up $60 for anybody that has her water usage of that. It is a jump. I think, on how are we gonna pay for this $35 million? Yeah.
Gary, refresh my memory. Properties get sold. What, that money goes again where? Help pay down the new city hall, correct?
Pay the $1.1 million.
Yep.
The repairs to the
Yes,
city
yes,
hall.
yes.
And there hasn't been a definite conversation,
Sure.
but whatever's left over if possible toward lands for a new recreation center.
Or could it be put towards the water sewer plant?
The hoop building, I think, was in the conversation.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Oh, could it? Absolutely, could be.
Cause Greg on the street, people ask about the property. Some have expressed concern about the cost of water in the new plant. And then the question was, well, if you get everything sold, can that be used? And I've been saying yes, cause I thought that's what it could, no, I don't say yes. I says, my line has been, it could be. So maybe I've heard it from people. They know it's coming. And I think what they really ask of me anyway is to be as soft as we can.
I think with that is, could it be used potentially? I think that's a fair answer. So I think some of it is, once we know what we get from the properties, then we can look down and where do we get the most bang for our buck with it, or whatnot, is once we have real numbers.
Yeah.
Then we can make a decision what makes the most sense.
Sure.
For the city moving forward. Could it? Yes. Could it be used for Rex? It could. Could it be used for
Who knows?
something else? Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be used for a lot of different things.
Gotcha.
I'm also on board with, going forward with Heidi's recommendation.
Shockingly, I'll say I'm on board too.
I don't think we have a choice. And unless,
The people I've talked to, it's been, you know, there's gonna be a hit, it's just, it's gonna happen. Most of
one of the things that I think would behoove us is to do our best to get it out there. Here's probably what it's gonna cost. And not let people get that first hit, say, what just happened? If you use this amount of water, this is probably what it's gonna cost.
The it's right side is proper, but to get out in front of that is, we make decisions January, February.
Yeah.
It doesn't go into effect until July.
Agreed.
And so if we kind of follow the same cadence that you've done in the past with based on the rollback and where the levy is. Kami does a great job with the slides that we saw, I think, at the first work session.
Sure.
Where this is how your taxes are determined. This
Yeah.
is what goes into it, because the headline this year, if the levy is 11.53, for traffic went up 52 cents per thousand. But when you look at it, well, my total taxes for my house are actually lower, even though the levy is
Yeah.
higher. We can do the same thing with the sewer.
Yeah.
Bills, granted, bill's not gonna be lower with the rates being higher, but it's higher, and this is the why, this is what we're doing.
We're trying to keep it as low as possible.
Yeah.
Mhm. But I think people would much rather see a gradual rise instead of 3 years from now, it goes and.
Yeah,
But yeah,
and this is based on sewer, right? I wanna make sure.
sewer, water is just the 2% that we have.
So
each year.
Yeah, so when the question comes up about our friends to the west,
Meters.
it doesn't affect.
Yep. And they,
Other than 2%.
the 2% for the water, but the gallery acres to the west, they also don't use our sewer.
Right, no, I know that, I just, cause that question is out there. If I'm paying, what are they paying? You're paying the same as they are, the difference is.
Well, they're paying double.
Yeah, well, no, I understand that, what I'm saying is that this is a sewer issue,
Right.
not
Right.
a freshwater issue.
Correct. Yes.
They're basically paying for sewer, but they don't have sewer.
Yeah.
Happens.
Okay,
There
that
you
gives
go.
me some good direction. I'll get these numbers in. I'll bring back a new recap at the next meeting. And then also, we'll have to, just revisit the certification, make sure that that levy certification is kind of tentatively the plan. We have until I think February 18th, where we got it, we have to kind of be in final mode by then, so we can do another recap at then we meeting next week and then. See if there's anything else that needs to be discussed or reviewed one last time before, because then what happens is I have to start doing notifications and publications, and there's really not an opportunity to change after that. Even though it's not approved until the end of April.
So from a meeting cadence then, so it's next Wednesday is our regular council meeting with that. I did ask him if we could keep the agenda a little bit shorter if possible. I'll be driving up to Minneapolis afterwards, so hoping that be there. But trying to have it a little bit shorter agenda on that. Anything on the 11th that you think will need a special meeting for budget, we should be able to knock out before the
Yeah.
But, is there anything else?
I said, one last question, like, just. Abundance of caution with this. The existing water treatment plant, I understand it's just old and it just needs to be replaced because it's just old, right? Or is the tax on it that we've expanded so much that we just pushed it to a point where we cannot upgrade and we cannot do anything to it. And I understand that DNR, throwing, more restricting regulation on it. But is the cause of us needing to spend $35 million because it's just old, or because we've expanded, or a combination of both?
All three, it's the age of the plant.
Yep.
The technology and the age of the plant. It's the growth of the city.
Okay.
That plant is well, third its size for right what we do now.
Mhm.
And the DNR, the new DNR regulations on our new commit
It just can't be brought up to code.
we just can't. I mean, we could probably spend another $5-10 million trying to upgrade that plant, but where does that get us?
Right, and that makes sense. I mean, you don't wanna keep fixing a turd. So.
And
I
that,
just wanted to make sure that understand all the underlying reasons, cause yeah.
Yeah, it's
Tim
all.
said everybody said it, we have to justify this to the public, so I just, I feel better being armed with
And
it.
they did that report, remember? So I'll make sure I get that to everybody.
Check that. That was something prior to Trail Ridge coming in. That was a big discussion point of if Trail Ridge comes in, is that the reason why we have to update our wastewater treatment plant? The answer at the time was whether or not Trail Ridge comes, we need a new wastewater treatment facility because we're maxed out from a capacity standpoint. Plus the restriction, like the regulations and things like that. So it's as we grow, it doesn't help the case, but it doesn't make it.
Right, but the total number of units within Trail Ridge was calculated into that, right? Not just the houses and lots that have been sold and what's in current existing, right? And if there's, I don't know, there's 150 houses to be out there, which I don't know if that number is even remotely correct. The total number of units that would have been supporting was calculated into that decision at that time.
The calculation I believe that was used was the total number of doors that could be in that subdivision, annexed, because they had to have flats with all different, all different houses, and so they said, okay, there's gonna be this many doors. And we said, we're not gonna do it if for some reason we can't get our sewer plant to go through. We wanna make sure that we have the capacity to cover that if we can't get it done by the time that those lots would get done.
Gotcha. That was okay.
So that went into the calculations before we even annexed that property.
Okay.
so then one last thing, I asked this, I want to make sure I'm clear. Those three infamous letters, D and R, are influencing us on what we're doing, correct?
Correct.
Well, I can understand.
If and when you come down for a little tour of the plant, I'll walk you through our new operating permit, our discharge permit.
Sure.
And show you where the DNR is expecting us to be in like 2029 and why we can't
Yeah.
reach those levels with this solar plant.
Where I'm going with this is when this gets out and those three letters are out there, the question of John Q. Citizen is gonna be, how much help is the DNR giving us financially? And the answer is, thank you.
It's not on them, it's on us.
Nope.
The reason why they pick on cities is because they
Yeah,
can't
no.
pick on farmers.
So my line will be contact their local representative to help us.
There you go.
I mean, really,
Yeah,
that's why I asked last week, because that's out there.
and there is money with the DNR, we just don't qualify. because-
Because of our average income.
Yeah.
Got it.
Last thing before I ask for a motion to adjourn, just want to say thank you to all of our staff, here at City Hall, down Public Works. Liz, Brody, Ethan as well, just the amount of time and effort that you put into the budget to have it ready for us to present and review and discuss that. You guys make a lot of difficult decisions in what's a want versus a need. And I really appreciate that you bring to us what you need in the budget. And then you say, here's the wish list if we have extra money on that, versus having every department bring in what they want and make us decide what's a need with that. So just really appreciative of the effort and the time that all of you put in to having it to us. Where you make it significantly easier on us, but also probably have it where you make some decisions before you bring it to us, where we don't have to make decisions that you guys may not like, where if we don't know if it's a want or a need. So just thank you for everything that you go into. I know it is a rough few months for sure.
It is, and this is a great team. Thank you very much. You guys have a very difficult job. I know, I've been in your shoes, so thank you. It's tough job, so appreciate the thoughtful questions. There's no such thing as too many questions because well, if we don't know the answer, we'll figure it out and find out the answer. Yeah, thank you.
With that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll motion to adjourn.
All right, motion by Moore, second by Mackey. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?